All right, let's jump into this deep dive and talk about prepping for an application engineer interview.
Great idea.
You're likely here because you're fascinated by engineering applications
That's right.
and things like managing technical requirements
Yeah.
and designing innovative solutions.
Yeah.
We've done a ton of research using RoleCatcher.
Lots of good stuff there.
We've got their career guides and interview guides.
Yeah.
And we're going to help you nail this thing.
Preparation is key. It's how you showcase your skills and expertise.
For sure.
Yeah.
So first, let's get a really clear picture of what an application engineer does day to day.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's career guide says it's about managing the technical side of projects,
Uh-huh.
making sure designs actually work out in the real world,
Right. Making sure it all works.
and keeping everything on track, budget included.
Definitely. But it's not just about keeping things running smoothly.
Oh,
Application engineers also design, develop, and implement new products and processes,
wow.
even improving existing ones.
So they're not just maintaining.
Right. And this role is used across so many industries.
That's right. And speaking of industries, the work environment section of the guide paints a pretty interesting picture.
Okay. Like what?
You could be working in manufacturing plants or labs,
Yeah, that's common.
busy offices.
Of course.
You might even be out in the field.
That's true. And while safety is definitely a priority, some roles might expose you to some pretty hazardous materials or extreme conditions.
Oh, wow.
It's definitely something to think about when you're researching potential employers.
For sure. And it's also super collaborative.
Very true. Lots of teamwork.
You're going to be working with sales, marketing, R&D, production, even suppliers and vendors.
Yep.
The typical interactions section in the guide really emphasizes that teamwork.
Yeah, it's vital. And with technology always advancing, you'll need to be current with the latest tools and software.
Always learning.
Exactly. Continuous learning is essential.
Now let's talk about work-life balance.
Sure.
The work hours section says it can really vary. Some companies might have long or unpredictable hours,
Right.
while others offer more flexibility.
It depends on the company. That's a great question to ask during your interview.
Good point.
It shows that you're thinking long-term and that you prioritize your well-being.
Absolutely.
Now let's dive into the interview itself.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's guides have a fantastic section.
Okay.
It's called Interview Prep. Questions to expect.
Ooh,
It's like getting a sneak peek into what the interviewer is thinking.
I like it. Okay, so let's go through some of these sample questions.
Sounds good.
Starting with, can you walk us through your experience with application development?
This is your chance to shine. The interviewer wants to see the depth of your experience.
Got it.
Instead of just listing projects, think storytelling.
Ooh, like a narrative.
Right. Highlight challenges you overcame, creative solutions you came up with, the actual results you achieved.
Okay.
And be sure to mention those specific technologies and programming languages you know.
So it's about showcasing your problem-solving skills and technical expertise.
Exactly.
What about some possible follow-up questions?
They might dig into a specific project.
Okay.
Ask about your design choices, the trade-offs you considered, or how you handled setbacks.
Interesting.
Be ready to explain your thought process.
Got it.
And show that you really understand the technical details.
Good.
Now, how would RoleCatcher's AI be useful here?
Well, their AI can analyze your responses
Cool.
and look for areas where you can improve.
I see.
It might suggest stronger examples or help you structure your answer using the STAR method.
STAR method?
Situation, task, action, result.
Right.
And it might even help you refine your language to make a bigger impact.
So it's like having a personal interview coach.
It really is.
That's awesome.
Fine-tuning your answers and boosting your confidence.
I love it.
Okay, moving on to question 2.
Right. What is it?
What is your experience working with databases?
Here, they want to know about your experience with database management and administration.
Okay.
Be specific.
All right.
Mention the database management systems you've worked with.
Like what?
MySQL, Oracle, or SQL Server.
Those are the big ones.
Talk about your experience with database design,
Mm-hmm.
optimization,
Okay.
and any projects where you were really key.
What should we avoid saying?
Don't be vague.
All right.
So don't just say, I have experience with databases. Give them concrete examples.
Show, don't tell.
Exactly. Talk about projects, challenges you tackled, and those positive outcomes you achieve.
Make it real.
Right. You really want to show them that you can use databases effectively.
Got it. Okay, question 3.
Tip me.
Can you explain your experience with cloud computing?
Cloud computing is everywhere these days.
It really is.
Interviewers want to know that you're up to speed.
Yeah, they want to know that you're current.
Right. So mention your experience with the major platforms like AWS or Azure. And be sure to highlight specific services you've used, like EC2, S3, or Lambda functions.
Oh, good point.
Again, focus on real-world applications and results.
I can see where RoleCatcher's massive library of interview questions and answers would be so helpful here.
For sure.
They have answers specifically tailored to different roles and industries.
Right.
You can practice answering these questions.
Great.
And even get AI-powered feedback.
The AI can help you tailor your answers to that specific job.
Now, let's say they ask some follow-up questions about cloud computing. What should we be ready to discuss?
They might want to know about different cloud service models.
Like what?
Like IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS.
Like ASIS?
Infrastructure as a service.
Oh, right.
PaaS, platform as a service. And SaaS, software as a service.
Okay.
Or they might ask about your experience with cloud security, deployment, best practices for management. Be ready to discuss your approach to these areas and how you've handled them in the past.
Great advice. Okay, on to question 4.
Right, shoot.
What is your experience with DevOps practices?
This one's all about making software development and deployment more efficient.
Streamlining.
Exactly. So highlight your experience with things like continuous integration and continuous delivery.
CI/CD.
Yes. Talk about the tools you've used, like Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, and how you've used them on real projects.
And what's the best way to answer this one?
The STAR method. Describe a situation where you implemented DevOps practices.
Got it.
Outline the task you were responsible for. Explain the actions you took, and showcase the results.
So you're saying to be specific.
Right. That structure makes your answer clear, concise, and impactful.
I love that. Okay, question 5. What is your experience with front-end technologies such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript?
So here they want to know about your front-end development skills.
Right.
Showcase your skills by talking about projects where you built user interfaces, implemented interactive elements, or created really nice web designs.
With so many frameworks and libraries out there.
Oh, I know.
How do we know which ones to mention?
Well, focus on the ones that match what's in the job description or what that company uses.
Good point.
And be ready to talk about the pros and cons of different frameworks. Show them that you understand the different trade-offs.
Makes sense. Now on to question 6. Could you explain your experience with back-end technologies, such as Node.js or PHP?
This is about your server-side development skills.
Okay.
Talk about your experience with back-end technologies like Node.js, PHP, Python, or Java.
Right.
And discuss the specific frameworks or libraries you've used.
Again, highlighting relevant projects.
Exactly. And show that you can build robust and scalable systems.
Should we be ready for any specific follow-up questions here?
They might ask about API design, database interactions, server management, or security.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Be prepared to discuss your approach and how you've tackled these things in the past.
Question number 7. Can you explain your experience with testing and debugging?
This is so important. It shows how you make sure things are high quality and reliable.
For sure.
Describe your testing process.
Okay.
Mention different types of testing.
Like what?
Unit testing, integration testing, end-to-end testing.
Should we mention specific testing frameworks or tools?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mentioning tools like Jest, Mocha, or Selenium shows that you've got real experience.
Hands-on.
And don't forget about debugging. Talk about how you approach finding and fixing bugs.
Yeah, debugging is so important.
Use techniques like logging, debugging tools, or code reviews.
Got it. Question 8. What is your experience with technical documentation?
This is essential.
Mm.
Clear documentation is a must for any software project.
Yep.
Highlight your experience creating technical documents.
Like what? User manuals?
Yep. API documentation, or even internal design docs.
Any tools or formats worth mentioning?
Mentioning things like Markdown, restructured text, or DocFX can help. And be sure to discuss your process for writing documentation that's clear, concise, well-structured, and easy for others to understand.
Great tips. Okay, on to question 9.
All right.
Can you explain your experience with project management?
Here, they want to know if you can manage projects well.
Makes sense.
Discuss your experience with project management methods like Agile or Waterfall.
Okay.
And highlight projects where you were in charge, coordinating tasks, or managing deadlines.
What about specific project management tools?
Mentioning tools like Jira, Trello, or Asana can help.
Good to know.
But remember, tools are just tools.
Right.
Focus on your ability to use them to meet those project goals.
Okay, and finally, question 10.
We're on the last one.
Can you explain your experience with system architecture design and implementation?
This is where you can really show off your big picture thinking.
Oh, cool.
Talk about different architectural patterns,
Like what?
microservices or event-driven architecture. Highlight projects where you designed and implemented complex systems.
Got it.
And explain the reasons behind your choices.
It sounds like we need to be ready to go deep.
Absolutely. They might ask you to explain specific design decisions, talk about scalability and performance, or how you handle system integration challenges.
Oh, that's a lot.
They might also ask about your experience with cloud-based architectures or distributed systems.
Okay, we just went through a ton of stuff.
We did.
Before we move on to how RoleCatcher can help you prep for these questions,
Yeah.
let's talk about some career insights from their guide.
Sounds good.
What can we expect in terms of work-life balance as an application engineer?
That's a great question, and one you should definitely ask potential employers. Application engineering can offer great pay and lots of opportunities, but
What?
there's also the potential for pressure, long hours, and you need to always be learning.
But don't let that scare you off.
Right.
The pros and cons section also highlights some incredible chances for growth.
Lots of opportunities.
You could specialize in something specific or even move into management.
Exactly. RoleCatcher actually has an amazing feature.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
It lets you record yourself answering interview questions.
Cool.
And then you get AI-powered feedback
Mhm.
on your delivery, body language, and overall presentation.
So it's like a mock interview, but with the virtual coach.
That's it.
That is really impressive.
I know, right? It's like having an entire career support team ready to help.
Speaking of impressing interviewers, let's get back to those career insights.
Okay.
The guide has some great advice on potential career paths.
Mm-hmm.
What should we be thinking about?
Well, think big picture. Application engineers have lots of options. They could move up in their current company, moving into more senior roles,
Like what?
like technical lead or engineering manager. Or they might choose to specialize,
Oh, interesting.
become experts in a particular industry or technology.
Or they could use RoleCatcher's AI features to really make their CVs and cover letters stand out.
Oh,
The AI can look at job descriptions and figure out exactly what skills and keywords employers want.
makes sense.
And then it suggests ways to improve your documents.
So it's like having a personal career coach helping you stand out from everyone else.
Exactly.
And don't forget about networking.
Oh, right. Meeting people.
Yeah, attending events, joining professional organizations, and connecting with people on LinkedIn. It can all open doors to exciting opportunities. It's all about being proactive and really taking charge of your career.
That's great advice. Okay, we covered a ton in this first part of our deep dive. When we come back, we'll dig into even more career insights and talk more about how to use RoleCatcher's AI tools to really craft amazing answers and ace that interview.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back. We're really getting into it now, talking all about how to nail that application engineer interview. Before we get back to those sample questions, I want to know more about career growth.
Okay.
What kind of path can an application engineer expect?
Well, there are so many paths you could take. You could climb the ladder in your current company, moving into roles like senior application engineer, team lead, or even engineering manager.
And the career guide even mentioned other cool options too, like specializing in a particular area.
Exactly. You could become an expert in a specific industry,
Like what?
aerospace, automotive, or renewable energy. Or you could focus on a specific technology, like AI, machine learning, or IoT. The possibilities are endless.
I love that. And speaking of possibilities, let's not forget about RoleCatcher and all the great resources they offer.
You got it. Their AI features can really help you get ready for that interview.
They can make a big difference. For example, their AI can look at your answers to interview questions and give you really specific feedback.
It's like having a personal coach, but for your interview skills. It can help you structure your answers, give you better examples, and even make your language more impactful.
And remember that huge collection of interview questions and answers we talked about before.
Absolutely. It's a treasure trove of info. You can practice answering those common questions, see how others have done it, and get insights into what the interviewers are really looking for. And the best part is, it's all tailored to different roles and industries, so you know you're getting relevant practice.
Okay, let's get back to those sample questions. Question 7 is, can you explain your experience with testing and debugging?
This question is about quality, making sure your code is reliable. Describe how you approach testing. Mention different types of testing that you know about.
Like what?
Unit testing, integration testing, end-to-end testing.
So should we talk about specific frameworks and tools?
For sure. Mentioning tools like Jest, Mocha, or Selenium shows you've got the experience and that you understand the different approaches.
We should talk about debugging too, right? That's a super important skill for any developer.
Definitely. Tell them how you find and fix bugs. Use techniques like logging, debugging tools, or code reviews. You want to show the interviewer that you're not just a coder, you're a problem solver. Someone who can find and fix issues.
So how can RoleCatcher help us with this particular question?
Well, their AI can analyze what you say and suggest ways to make it better.
Okay.
Like it might tell you to give more specific examples of your testing process.
Interesting.
Or suggest stronger words to make your answer more powerful.
That's super helpful. It's like having another person check your work. Okay, let's move on to question 8. What is your experience with technical documentation?
Documentation is so important for any software project. It's how we talk to other developers, the people involved, and even the users.
Yeah.
Highlight your experience creating clear and concise documents.
Like what kind of documents?
User manuals, API documentation, internal design docs, anything that shows you can communicate technical info clearly.
So it's all about making those complex things easy to understand.
Right, and how you do documentation can tell a lot about how organized you are and how much you care about the details.
Should we talk about specific tools and formats?
Mentioning tools like Markdown, Restructure Text, or DocFX could help, but the focus should be on your process, how you write documentation that's well organized, easy to use, and fits the needs of the people reading it.
Let's say I'm using RoleCatcher to practice this question. How would their AI feedback help me?
It might suggest ways to make your answer stronger by giving specific examples of the documentation you've done, like a complicated user manual you wrote or some API documentation that got positive feedback.
Makes sense. Okay, question 9 is up next. Can you explain your experience with project management?
The interviewer wants to know if you have what it takes to manage projects effectively. So talk about your experience with project management methods like Agile or Waterfall. Talk about how you plan, organize, and run projects, how you handle deadlines, delegate tasks, and communicate with your team.
Should we mention any specific project management tools?
Mentioning tools like Jira, Trello, or Asana is a good idea, but remember, they're just tools. The focus should be on how well you use them to reach those project goals.
Right, it's about the skills, not just the tools. Okay, last question. Can you explain your experience with system architecture design and implementation?
This is where you can really show off your ability to see the big picture. Discuss your understanding of different architectural patterns.
Like what?
Things like microservices, event-driven architecture, or serverless computing. Talk about projects where you designed and built complex systems, and be ready to explain why you made the choices you did.
It sounds like we need to be ready to go deep.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The interviewer might ask you to explain specific decisions, talk about things like scalability and performance, or how you deal with challenges when integrating systems. They might even ask about your experience with cloud-based architectures or distributed systems.
Wow, that's a lot to cover. That was a great wrap-up of the sample questions. But before we move on, I want to touch on one more thing related to your career. Work-life balance.
Okay.
The career guide mentions that it can be a bit of a mixed bag in this field.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely something to think about. Application engineering can be demanding.
Yeah, it's a fast-paced field.
Right. You have those tight deadlines, and you always have to stay up to date with new technologies.
That can lead to long hours, maybe even working weekends.
It can, but it doesn't have to be all-consuming.
Oh, good.
Lots of companies realize how important work-life balance is.
That's great.
They offer flexible schedules, working from home, and good vacation policies.
And that's something we can definitely ask about during the interview.
Absolutely. It shows you're thinking long-term.
Yeah.
And that you prioritize your well-being.
And it gives you a chance to see what the company culture is like.
Yeah.
And if it's the right fit.
Exactly.
Okay, we covered a ton of ground in this second part of our deep dive. When we come back, we'll share some final thoughts on how to really stand out in that application engineer interview, using your own unique skills and experiences. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of application engineer interviews. We've covered so much.
We have.
From understanding the role itself to tackling those interview questions. And of course, we talked about how RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools can give you that extra edge in the interview.
Right. From tailoring your CV and cover letter to practicing your answers and getting feedback, it's all about being prepared.
Now, I want to focus on you. What makes you unique? your strengths, your passions, and what sets you apart from everyone else.
Because in the end, it's not just about technical skills, right? It's about how you use them.
Yeah.
Your problem solving, communication, and your passion for the field. That's what really matters.
The career guide talks about crafting a compelling story for the interview. What does that even mean for application engineering?
It means showing them more than just a list of skills and jobs. It's about showing the connections, how your background and passions have brought you to this point, and how your skills fit with what the company needs.
So it's like telling a story that highlights your value, what you bring that nobody else can.
Exactly. And don't forget, the interview is a two-way street.
Oh, right. It's not just about them evaluating you.
Right. It's also your chance to see if this company and this role are right for you, your goals, your values.
That's a great point. What are some good questions we can ask them to learn about the company culture, work-life balance, and opportunities for growth?
You could ask about professional development. Do they have training programs?
Yeah.
Mentoring? Do they help you go to industry events? You could also ask about their work-life balance policies. Do they have flexible schedules? Good vacation time? A culture that respects your personal time.
Those are great questions. It shows them that you're really interested.
Exactly. And it helps you get the information you need to decide if it's the right place for you.
Okay, so remember, preparation is key.
Always.
The more you know about the company and the role, the better prepared you'll be.
Right, and the more confident you'll feel. Use resources like RoleCatcher's employer database and industry insights to really get to know the landscape.
We've covered so much today.
We really have.
We talk about what an application engineer does, those tough interview questions, and how to use RoleCatcher's AI tools. We also discuss different career paths, work-life balance, and how to create a story that shows off your strengths. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. Remember that bridge we talked about? The one connecting innovation with solutions?
I remember.
You are that bridge.
You've got the skills, the knowledge, the drive.
Yeah.
You can make a real difference.
Go out there and ace that interview.
Yeah.
Use your talents to build amazing things. We're rooting for you every step of the way.